Oh, internet. We'll do one more. I was going to stop recording, but I still have beer left. So you kind of nurse a beer when you're doing reviews because you don't drink the beer. But, excuse me. It is a delicious beer. What do we got today? You guys want me to rip into them, don't you? You know, I wasn't going to swear because I kind of like to consider myself family friendly. But let's, you know, this is your warning if you have kids around. Oh, yeah, dang it. I meant to do a couple shout outs in some of these reviews, and then thinking of having kids around, I want to give a big shout out to Bobby Pauly and his son. I think it's awesome. They were, you know, he mentioned that, you know, they enjoy watching my videos and stuff like that. And, you know, for me, it's videos that I upload on the internet, and you know, it's just something that I kind of do and put out there. But I never really thought, you know, how people might be taking this sort of content in. You know, and he mentioned in particular that he had waited for my 2017 year in review and top 20 spinner countdown to watch with his son. I don't know, being a dad myself, I don't know, it just was like, I kind of got touched by that. So, you know, I definitely don't want to make it a thing where I'm doing shout outs for people reaching out. I'm like, hey, can I get a shout out? That's not what I do. I'll shout out where it's appropriate and basically get a shout out if it's earned, because I feel like it. Certainly asking for one isn't going to get you one. But I just thought that was really cool. And yeah, I want to say that's, yeah, that's awesome. But Bobby, I'm not sure if you've told me how old your son is, and if you have, I forget, and I'm sorry. But fuck these guys. I had to say it. Sorry, we're not going to edit that. Now, that said, there's actually some good news on the horizon. So these guys, I wasn't actually sure about doing this review until I heard the news that I heard, and then I was like, well, we can go ahead and review this then. But Alexander White and Ben, like, I don't know what they're doing over there. I really just want to cuss nonstop. It might be the beer. I've only had like half of it, so it's really not the beer. But like, I'm just not pleased. Now, some people have given them crap, but for the wrong reasons. Like, someone was like, oh, how could you be posting photos on Instagram when you haven't fulfilled my order? Like, hold on. First of all, like, no matter how stupid you are with business and what else is going on, like, you're still going to go out and do things. Like, it's not like I can spend 100% of my time doing what I should be doing. Oh my God, you went to a casino? You went to, like, right, if they're spending all the money that they made with this at the casino, like, that's a problem. But just the fact that someone's going out and having a good time, like you still got to do things, right? You still got to eat. How could you be eating food when you haven't shipped my titanium order? But if you don't know the drama behind these guys, basically, let's get this out of here. They did a bunch of pre-orders, and they just haven't fulfilled orders. So they did a titanium order. I think it was on Indiegogo. Titanium, and I don't know if you had different weight options. I don't know. That's a little thing in there. We'll talk about that. But just so you know, there's an Allen wrench. They had done like an Indiegogo, and then they did a pre-order, and the Access Micro was like in demand and like selling out. So the fact that they did a pre-order at like the peak of the spinner game with an in-demand spinner, like, can you imagine if like the One Drop Trillium did a pre-order instead of their second drop, how many orders they would have sold and had to fulfill? Just seemed like kind of like a terrible idea, even to me at the time, and I wasn't like really, I'm nowhere near into it like I am now. I'm going to peel this off as well. I don't know if these come with them. I've seen a lot of them have them, though, this little 3D printed thing to give you a little grip, so I kind of wanted to show you that, but I don't really like it personally. But yeah, so they did a pre-order, so I'm personally in on the pre-order. It closed July 7th. It was supposed to ship between August and September. They had mentioned on their site that it would ship. And they still haven't fulfilled orders from the Indiegogo before that for titanium. So my biggest problem with these guys is they handled it like pieces of shit. They just really did. Like, it was really poorly handled. There's been virtually zero communication about what's going on, what the problem is. They've got a ridiculous mod. Ryan, if you're listening, I hate to be a negative guy because that's really not what I'm about, but you're also a piece of shit. You know, kicking people out of the group for asking, like, where's my order? Like, this is a $180 spinner. And I think it's probably worth it. You know, average Singaporean Ben got one that had some machining issues, and I haven't really seen that too much with this one. It actually feels pretty nice. But maybe not 180. Maybe that's still a little bit expensive, but like people need to know where their orders are. So kicking people out of the group and banning them for like giving you shit for not telling me what's going on is just completely inexcusable. It is. And it sucks like that you could have something this good and be at essentially the top of your game and just screw up so badly. Like, I don't know how you can go that wrong, even if like, okay, hey, we were expecting to sell 100 spinners and now we need to make 5,000. Like, that is a huge, huge deal to try to fulfill. Like let's say on a good day, it takes 10 minutes, right, to machine whatever you're trying to machine. I haven't done the math. Like, I'm just kind of talking, you know, again, off the top of my head, freeform here. But, like, that is a significant increase, right? So if you do a pre-order and you sell, they had to have sold a lot of these. There's no way they didn't sell, like, I wouldn't be surprised, again, to see it in the thousands. You know, Spinner Game was hype, was rolling. Everybody wanted these. You couldn't get them. And then all of a sudden there's a pre-order. Right, unlimited pre-order, just as long as you want. The pre-order was open for like a while too, because I put in my order on June 12th. I know because I'm debating whether or not I was going to dispute it with my bank, and then I'm kind of letting it ride for a minute. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. Sent them an email just so I can say like, hey, if you're going to be disputing things with your bank, you need to reach out to the manufacturer first. And they didn't respond to me, of course, because they're pieces of shit. So then I wanted to be able to go to the bank and say, look, here's the communication I sent out to them. I don't want to say like, hey, they just didn't give me my money. Like, you need to reach out to them and give them the chance to make it right, even though everything I've heard told me they wouldn't respond. I wasn't expecting a response, but again, I wanted to have that in case I went to the bank. But along comes this guy named Jordy, who I think is or was their machinist or was going to be their machinist, and they've basically just sold the company off to him. And he's so far had some good communication about wanting to fulfill orders, what he's going to be doing, so I'm hopefully optimistic. Jordy, if you come through, you're the man, you're awesome. I'll give you all the thumbs up. But for now, the Ben and Alex, like, I'm sorry, guys, you just suck. You just are douchebags. And it sucks that it has to be that way because you're probably like decent enough people to hang out with in person, but like you can't take a ton of money from a ton of people and not communicate. Like, that's the biggest thing. You didn't communicate, right? Like, not like Heck Ferrullo over at Flavor Zone Essentials has done anything probably to warrant anything like that, but he's got great communication when something comes out, right? Like, he had that whole issue with his SBV2s that were supposed to be hybrid ceramics then weren't. There was a ton of communication. There was a lot of outgoing community engagement, right? And people are willing to work with you. You can't just disappear and not talk about it, right? Like, you know, I just did the review on this. Like, this guy had issues with his machinist, went and got a new machinist, basically sold this at zero profit just to get out from underneath it, but had good communication, right? Like, that's what you need. And you guys didn't have that, and you're asshats. So, Bush League shit. Nobody fucks with the Jesus. I don't know why that popped into my head. Well, I got a big Lebowski quote in my head, but in any event, we've talked for about 8 minutes about the problems with these guys. We haven't even talked about the spinner. But we've spun it in front of you, so maybe you could see me fidgeting with it. It is an excellent spinner. I will say that magnetic buttons just suck. They just do. Like, I just don't like magnetic buttons. Now, these are nicer in the sense, you know, if you saw me looking at these are the ones from the new stainless steel Nautilus, and they just don't have enough strength, so they're easy enough to pull off, which is kind of nice. But because they're a little weaker, they can rock side to side. These really don't rock to side easily, but they're virtually impossible. Like, you can't pull it off with your fingers. You need to use like more magnets on the other side to help loosen it up, and even then it's hard to take off. And then on top of it, it's got this stupid thing. I hate these. The reason I hate these is they're so tricky to get the tolerance just right. Like, if you over tighten them 1/8 of a turn, all of a sudden the bearing has like this weird pressure on it and affects the spin. So they're just finicky at best. So I don't like these either. But at least they come with an Allen wrench, so you've got that. But it's a 608 bearing that's in there. A lot of people will put different cores in there. This particular version is titanium with a nice stonewash finish and these tungsten weights. The tungsten weights are excellent as well. Really gives some good fidgetability, good weight to this guy. These curved arms, these chamfers. You know, for me, aesthetically, I don't know what it is. Like, with it kind of cutting down like this, I would really like to see it stay even, but then that means the circle and the arms, a lot of things would have to change to kind of have this be even. So the arms would have to be wider, a whole bunch of stuff. And again, I should say, I don't know if I mentioned, I apologize if I got 9 minutes into it. I'll say it at the beginning of the video, but this is on loan from the Jomo collection. I think he's interested in selling this one as well. So if you're interested in this, let me know. It's the only one he told me to be really careful with and not jam on and be gentle with. So it's the one that's in like really good shape. Again, if you saw Average Singaporean's video, it comes to this really acute edge that isn't sharp, but it's very easy to like have like nicked or damaged. So and this definitely wasn't for me, Jomo, if you don't know. I definitely did not do that. I haven't carried this anywhere. It's literally stayed in the box or been spun. But it may have come from the factory like this, if you look at, again, Average Singaporean's video. But despite the asshattery, if we are completely objective and look at this just as a spinner, again, despite the negative buttons, everything else about this is, the rumors are true. This is a extremely fidgetable spinner. Extremely fidgetable. You probably saw me getting antsy and pissed off, but still fidgeting with this like a champ because it works really well. These swoops out allow your fingers to really rock it out on a flick, pull it in. It's actually, especially in the titanium with the tungsten weights, does some interesting thing because obviously titanium is very light, tungsten is very heavy, so it feels more like a solid stainless steel spinner. And then obviously because it's magnetic, it kind of wants to stick to the scale. But 61 grams is in that super fidgetable range for most people. Turn this off. And the 608 has great feeling. Now the 608 that's in here is actually pretty smooth. I'm pretty sure it's a hybrid ceramic. I'm pretty sure it's ceramic balls that are in there, but a stainless steel cage. But it's got a 608 feel, right? But not a ton of feedback, so it's not super noisy. It's not super loud. Again, you're probably hearing it louder than I am putting it up there. The balls that are in there, look at the spin profile on this. Like, it's actually pretty thin. I'm surprised at how thin it felt. Like, just seeing all the pictures of it, it just, I don't know. It looks like a thicker spinner, especially since it's spheres, and the spheres you would expect to add some thickness. And the spheres are actually just about, maybe that's part of them. No, they're a little higher than the arms, never mind. But it gives tons of grip on the side. You don't feel these corners. I think even if you could, they're not hot spots at all. Throws really nice, preloaded flicks, slow fidgeting, like whatever you need to do, this thing will do it. And the magnets are strong enough where it doesn't feel super loose. Like, that's the thing I don't like with magnetic buttons is they kind of rock back and forth, but you don't really get that a lot with this guy. But again, it's also dang near impossible to take off, but you don't really need to take them off that often, so it's not too bad. So but yeah, it's super, super fidgetable. And again, I was saying it's a pretty thin body, but when you spin it, I mean, the spin profile starts to make it look like, look at that right there. It looks like it's a super thick spinner, right? I'm getting all these different concentric circles because of the chamfers, the arms, those tungsten balls, but it's not that thick. But it's cool to look at. It's cool to fidget with. It is a really nice spinner, so that's kind of why it's a shame. If you remember in my 2017, retrospective, biggest fall from grace, last from spending, sitting on top of the world. What's that line from Beverly Hills Cop? I was going to write it, Michael Jackson sitting on top of the world, but I think I might write, Michael Jackson can sit on top of the world as long as he doesn't sit on the top of the Palm Beach Hotel because they don't allow any in there. If you don't know what word I censored, well, go watch that movie. It's R-rated, but it's a fantastic movie. One of the greatest movies of all time. Beverly Hills Cop, the first one. What else can we say? We railed on Last Room Standing for being douchebags. We talked about the spinner. I didn't do the spin time. It's a 608, so I'm not really worried about spin time, although it's probably decent enough. It feels fast. It doesn't feel like it's slowing down. It just sucks that those guys had to do what they went and did, because it's a good spinner. It really is. So can I recommend buying it? Fuck no. What I can recommend is if this Jordy guy can come through and can kind of turn this around. They had plans for, I think they did a pre-order on like a micro version. I believe he's going to be doing it as an R188 as opposed to a 608, starting with the coppers. See? So I got a copper and tungsten maybe coming, so we'll see. If he can turn it around, it's definitely a good spinner. It's definitely a spinner worth having if you can get one. Right now, I mean, you see him pop up on the secondary, and I think that's the way you got to go. In fact, the biggest reason I thought of canceling is maybe I could just actually pick up the brass and tungsten one that I really want. But anywho, we talked long enough. We talked long enough, Internet. Sorry for cursing. I don't curse often, but I wanted the... When you don't, see, here's the thing too, Internet, completely unrelated to spinners. If you don't curse, when you do it, has more impactful, it has more meaning, right? If you go out there and you're swearing all day like a sailor, when you really are upset about something, it doesn't have any levity, any gravitas. But you know, when I swear like that, I know you guys feel it because I mean it. So, anywho, we're not going to edit that. It's going to be what it is. So, hopefully, apologize about the language, but there's a time and place for language. So I will say that I'm not someone that just curses just to curse. Although I'm not opposed to cursing if you do curse. So I like R-rated movies. Anyway, internet, kisses.